All right, everybody. Good morning. Happy Saturday. You guys know what time it is. You guys know what it's all about. We got a Seahawks game tomorrow. We took last week off, but the Seahawks are playing some football tomorrow night. They got the Sunday night slot against a reeling Washington Commanders team, a team that, quite frankly, really needs a win, a team that might have their season come down to tomorrow, and a team that I'm expecting some serious resistance from simply because of that. This Washington team has had all kinds of problems this year. This Washington team seems like they've taken a step back from last season's NFC Championship run, but I am ready to get their best shot tomorrow night. So, let's talk about it. First, though, back in 60 seconds. All right, guys, let's take a minute so I can tell you about Sleeper, a one-stop shop for all your sports needs. You can celebrate and chat on sports games in real time with other users. You can get the fastest scores, blazing fast sports news and sports alerts right at your fingertips. And of course, you can use Sleeper to play in fantasy leagues and win real money on picks contests. This is the way sports were meant to be enjoyed together. So download Sleeper today. Use promo code SBN to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. And you can pair that with another promo they have right now where you can get a $20 entry free with no deposit required. So get both of those things going. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states and growing. So check out Sleeper today. Get to it and go have some fun with sports this year. All right, welcome back. So we got this one tomorrow. Washington on a 3-game losing streak. It is kind of your textbook. You're going to get their best shot. They're going to throw everything they have at you. They don't want their season to end this early. They don't want to get to 3-6. At 3-6, they're definitely going to be feeling like this is just going to be one of those lost seasons, and it's a very expensive lost season for Washington if that's what they end up with, because they've got a really good quarterback, a franchise quarterback on a rookie scale contract right now. Those years are very precious. And if you are if you're the Commanders, you have to know that this is it. This is it. They cannot afford to go to 3-6. So we're getting their best shot. So that's my initial thought here. I am very aware of the fact that Washington is a flawed team. We can start with their defense, because that's the side of the ball that actually surprises me this year. I thought for sure that with an extra offseason under Dan Quinn and all the money that they had to spend, Washington would take some pretty serious strides in the right direction defensively. I understand that Dan Quinn has flaws. I understand that Dan Quinn is not some defensive guru at this point. I understand that people don't really view him that way. But I thought for sure he would take a unit that was a little below average last year, maybe average, and he would advance them to, at the very least, good. Hasn't happened. And you take a look at the way they addressed their defense this offseason, it does kind of it does kind of make sense, right? Like, what were their big defensive acquisitions during this particular offseason? You've got what, Marshawn Lattimore, who doesn't fit their defense. You got Von Miller, who is 36, 37 years old. I don't understand the approach that Washington took. About the only thing they added that I thought was a good move was Trey Amos in the draft, and he's still a rookie. So it was a very odd approach. I know they wanted to invest their resources into the offense, but you take a look at the way they built out that defense. I'm still a little surprised that Dan Quinn's coaching couldn't get a little bit more out of this group, but you've got Bobby Wagner at linebacker, you've got Deron Payne at defensive tackle, those are really their only two standout players at this moment. Those are really their only two guys that seem to be playing well. And I don't know if either guy's playing stellar. They're bringing good things to the table, don't get me wrong. More so than pretty much anybody else on this team, but that's that's really underwhelming. Like, remember, it wasn't that long ago this Washington team was all about we're going to invest everything we have into this front four. Deron Payne was one of those guys, but that Chase Young, Montez Sweat, Jonathan Allen, they threw every first round pick they had at trying to get a great front four together. And now you look at it, they're starting Javon Kinlaw. They've got Jerzon Newton, who kind of a disappointment so far, kind of redundant with Deron Payne anyway. Like I said, old man Von Miller. Now, part of the problem is they've lost Dorrance Armstrong to injury. He's out for the year, and he was their best pass rusher by a long shot. But still, the investments are strange. Frankie Louvu at linebacker's been all right, I suppose. I don't think he's everything they were hoping they were going to get when they signed him. Like I said, Marshawn Lattimore doesn't really fit what they do defensively. St. Ristel seems like he's taken a step back this season. He really hasn't played all that well. They don't have a ton going on at that safety spot, really. It's just it. Brandon talks about this sometimes, and this is a old, well, not super old, but kind of old quote from Mike Holmgren, where he says, "You want your defense to be young and your offense to be older." And Brandon of the Hawks Nest talks about this a lot. This team has kind of decided to go the opposite way, and it seems like they're paying for it. Having a defense this old, you can see it really negatively affect them. Like, their best player is probably Bobby Wagner, and he's still good, but he is old, and that does rear its ugly head at points. So, right off the bat, my first thought is, hey, this offense, this Seahawks offense, throw a lot of outside zone runs at them with Ken Walker, attack their secondary, attack their cornerbacks with JSN, who they might have to triple cover to have any chance of covering. Go to tight end and make Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu have to cover. There's so much you can do to this Washington defense that they're probably not going to be ready to handle. You've got so many mismatches to exploit. You do. And I'm excited to see what Kubiak cooks up tomorrow, because I think that if he approaches this game in the right way, he's going to find a lot of different ways to do damage. I think the tight end thing is probably the most standout, because that should be something that should be hit routinely. AJ Barner, Elijah Arroyo, both of those guys, we should see both of them just going off tomorrow night. Wagner, Louvu, those guys don't have a chance. But their secondary has shown they're not up to snuff this year. Like last week they're playing the Chiefs. And look, the Chiefs, they got Andy Reid, but that is not a very good receiver core over in Kansas City right now. And Washington couldn't keep up with them. So even if we don't have Cooper Kupp, which I think is a real possibility, there should be a lot that this offense can do, take advantage of this defense. So on paper, in theory, everything I'm seeing says, hey, there's plenty to take advantage of here. We should be able to go do it. Let's get it done. This Washington defense has really very little I'm scared of. And offensively, honestly, even though that's the side of the ball that you're more intimidated by, mistakes have been made there as well, right? Like, first of all, we don't have to worry about Terry McLaurin, their best wide receiver, really good player, been really consistently good his whole career, almost never got hurt. Now suddenly he can't stay healthy, probably because he missed a chunk of the offseason because he wanted to get paid. And their attempts to add other elements to this offense, you've got Deebo Samuel, who does look mostly washed up. You've got Laramie Tunsil, who is probably not going to play in this game if I had to guess. I understand that it's still up in the air. We don't know for sure yet, but it doesn't look like we're getting Tunsil, in my estimation. And then you've got some of the stuff they've done at running back, which has worked, but even though their running game is effective, it really doesn't feel like it's doing a lot to make the team better. It is kind of the contradiction, the maddening contradiction of the air raid offense, which they run with Cliff Kingsbury, where even if you're a good running team, you constantly find yourself getting pulled to wanting to get back to the passing game. And I think this is something we ran into last year with Ryan Grubb. I think this is something that you see a lot in this league. When you try to run air raid, it just takes a lot. It just makes a lot of the things that your team does feel like empty calories, right? A lot of the things that Washington does on the ground with Ja'Cory, Krosky, Merritt, mainly him. I think he's been the standout running back. They've obviously gotten good running production out of Jaden Daniels and Marcus Mariota as well. So it's a little bit of a multifaceted attack because they do have that dual threat at quarterback. But I think the thing that really stands out to me is that it's not making their team better that they can run the ball really well. And that's what happens when you run that air raid system. You want to get back to throwing it. And right now, it's going to be interesting to see what Kingsbury does because he doesn't have McLaurin. And you've got mostly washed up Deebo Samuel. You've got Luke McCaffrey, who I do like, but he's not a superstar or anything. You've got Zach Ertz, who still has a little bit left, but like Deebo, mostly washed up. Are you really going to open up your passing attack and just try to chuck it around the field against this really good Seattle secondary? You wouldn't think so. You wouldn't think so. But can Cliff Kingsbury kind of deny his true nature as a play caller? Can he get away from that and just say, look, and I say this even knowing that Seattle has probably the best run defense in football, you got to lean on your rushing attack, especially because Jaden Daniels, probably not 100%, and his accuracy has taken such a big hit this season. His completion percentage is down 8 points from last year. Really, really bad. He's gone from one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the league to a quarterback that he's not even average in terms of his accuracy at the moment. So, very interested to see what approach he goes with there. If they don't have Tunsil, they still have some good players on that offensive line, but it's a little bit of a transition year. They got a rookie at right tackle in Connerly. You've got Sam Cosmi at right guard. He's pretty good. He's pretty good. They got the guy from Dallas at center. Shoot, what's his name? Biotish. Tyler Biotish. He's pretty good at center. So I am very interested to see what game plan Washington comes with here. But again, and I know that part of the reason why their offense hasn't been great this year is because they've missed Jaden Daniels for a few games. Even with Jaden Daniels, this offense feels like it's regressed. It's not the supercharged threat that it was through most of 2024. And I don't know, there's just not a lot to be concerned about. Deebo Samuel is their number one wide receiver, and it's an air raid team. Like it's an air raid team that is really, really unsufficiently talented at the wide receiver position. That is hard to work around. So in theory, there's really not a lot to be concerned about. I will say that I think there are a lot of people out there, and I justifiably so, that expect at some point Jaden Daniels to revert back to what he was last year, to get it together, to remember how to play football. But realistically, outside of just that, and you wouldn't expect something like that to happen in a game like this, there isn't a lot to be really scared of with this game, right? On paper, it's just a Washington team that isn't really doing that much right at the moment. Even their wins so far this year, it's been they beat up on a Giants team that couldn't do anything offensively. It's all there for you, but again, they really, really, really need this. And I believe that this team, they're aware of the fact that if you're a guy like Von Miller, this might be your last chance. And if you're a guy like Bobby Wagner, this is probably your last chance. A lot of the guys on the team this year were on the team last year. They remember the fact that they were a game away from the Super Bowl. I know they got drilled in that game, but they were a game away from going to the Super Bowl. And they don't want to give this up. They don't want to have a lost season. Again, cheap rookie quarterback on that rookie deal. They don't want to lose that season because of a 3-6 start. So we're getting their best shot. And maybe more than ever, I am sitting here as a Seahawks fan, eminently aware that there's a real possibility that even though with everything I just said that said Seattle should take care of business in this game, and I still think they're going to, but I am very aware of the fact that there might be something going on here beyond the X's and O's. There might be something going on here beyond just the way the teams have played so far this year, because they need it. And there were high expectations for Washington this year. So I don't think they're just going to lay down and die. With that being said, 27-17. I can't pick this Seattle team to lose to a team that has been as lackluster as the Commanders. And look, I trust McDonald to get it done. I trust McDonald to do what he needs to do to find a way to win this game. I trust Witherspoon and guys like him and Hall to reintegrate into this defense and make it better, which is, a bold thing because the defense has been so good even without them. And I got to trust Kubiak to attack the obvious weaknesses on this defense. But have your guard up a little bit. And if you're the Seahawks, don't sleep on them. Don't lay down. Don't think it's going to be easy. All right. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Maybe another video later today. Maybe not. We'll see. But there's not necessarily going to be a lot that happens today. The Huskies don't play. And I might just I might stream on Twitch later. I might not. I don't know. Don't know exactly what today holds for me, but obviously it's a Saturday. You don't expect a lot to happen. Maybe we'll get some practice squad elevations. I'll talk about that. But yeah, that'll do it. See you guys later. Go Hawks. Everybody have a good rest of your Saturday.